Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Game Detectives podcast. Every episode we're going to talk about a game or a game series, what we like, what we don't, as well as some lessons we can take away from the game. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Game Detectives. It's been a long time since we've done anything. So I'm your host and current kind of master student, not really anymore, David Cusack. On today's episode, we're going to chat about Animal Crossing New Horizon and about all the wonderful things it's doing for us right now. So joining me today to discuss this game are three wonderful friends of mine who you should all be familiar with from our infamous Mario Party episodes. First up, we're going to talk about the man himself, who is a fellow game detective, Travis Schultz. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello.
And we're going to say annyeong to our friend Eli in South Korea.
안녕하세요, 여러분.
How many miles away are you right now
literally,
from America?
Literally over a dozen.
How many Nook miles are you?
Oh, how many Nook miles, man? I racked them up, so it's a good question. I don't know.
Cusack like that.
Okay, and all right, and finally our best pal up in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Elijah Cusack Wood is here.
Yes, hello.
So, before we check in, I have a serious question to ask. How many times have you visited Culver's in the last month? This is a question for everybody.
Oh, God, don't talk about this, please.
I've only
in the last month?
In the last
probably
month.
Four?
I've
probably
only been there
four
once.
Or five?
I've only been once.
Wow. That's like a record low for you, David. Oh my God.
Wait, no, I went twice. Okay, I went twice.
I thought you meant once today.
No, I didn't go out today. But before I get started, for our listeners who are like me in that they've never played an Animal Crossing game before, what is up with Animal Crossing? What's it about, and why is it fun? Why do you guys enjoy playing it? Trav, we'll start with you because I think you've probably played it the most out of everybody.
Yeah, I remember playing it on GameCube. Not right when it came out, but sometime after, just because I liked animals and I thought it would be neat back when you could buy games at Blockbuster. And it's kind of interesting because right now there's a lot of different things. I mean, obviously there was Harvest Moon back then, and there's Stardew Valley and more independent and more mobile type games right now. But back then, that was the first kind of life simulation game I had played where there wasn't really a goal or a common objective. It's kind of like you turn on the game, you say hi to your pretend friends, you clean up stuff a little bit, you get what you need, and then you turn it off after maybe 15 minutes, half an hour. It's something that, as a child, was very unique and very confusing. It rewards patience, and really, when you're a kid, you get a video game and you want to blast through it as soon as possible and kind of see what's the end. But in Animal Crossing, there is no end. It's kind of just, I mean, in a very rudimentary way, it's kind of like a list of chores, but it's done in an incredibly charming, incredibly cute, incredibly colorful way that I really don't think any other game captures. It's very Eastern. It's also a little bit Western. And I think people who really identify with playing something very slow-paced, very cute, can get a lot out of it.
Nice. Eli in Korea.
Yeah.
So what is the things you do on a daily basis in New Horizons?
So every day in Animal Crossing, I wake up in the morning and I go and I find my money rock, I find my money tree, I find my money hole, I go fishing and I make my money, and then I work on paying off my house loans so that I can expand my house, and I, just do some upkeep. I water all my gardens and go fishing. And that's usually my daily routine. Oh, I also make sure that I talk to all of my neighbors. that's something that's really important for me, is keeping up relationships with everybody in the game.
It's stuff that you wouldn't really want to do in real life.
That's so true. I would never be interested in gardening.
At the start of the game, it's like you like buy the house from Tom Nook, right? Who's like the mayor. So when you pay off the debt, is it like there's always debt that you owe? Or is there ever a point where you're like done paying it off?
It's really interesting
wonderful,
how it works.
David.
Yeah. It's a no interest loan, so you can just pay it off whenever you want.
I see a lot of jokes online. People say Tom Nook, who is your person who puts you in these debts, is like a greedy landlord type trying to suck money out of you, and that couldn't be farther from the truth.
I have to agree.
This is a gentleman who offers you a home and says, okay, well, you owe me maybe like $10,000, but, pay that back when you get a chance. If you do pay it back, we'll make your house bigger. And basically the loop is you can continue to make your house as bigger as you like, but if you are happy with your tent or happy with your 2-bedroom, he's completely happy as well. And I wish that people would take note of that right now. I wish my landlord would pay attention to this kind of
I was just gonna
situation.
say I would do anything to have Tom Nook be my landlord.
I have a fundamental question on that, Travis. In
Yes.
real life, if you were put on an island with just a tent and all that stuff, and this is real life, and you actually still had to try to craft all that stuff in the real world, would you be okay with that?
I would love nothing more than to pay my loan back at my own leisure.
I don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When I see you chop down an actual tree, I'll believe you.
But this is a fantasy and a release that I think a lot of people can identify with right now on a very fundamental level.
Yeah. So Cusack, you have like the least amount of experience with the series.
Correct.
As we were talking about before. So like what drew you into playing it, and like what do you enjoy about it?
So, and maybe this is unfair, but I think the only reason really I was so interested in it was because all of my friends were.
I think that's the case for a lot of new players, actually.
For sure, and I would have never done it if I didn't have a group of people to actually be so welcoming about it. I think the one great thing about Animal Crossing that I've learned so far is that it's never a competition. At least not with my friend group. It's never who has the most fruit. It's never who has the coolest island. Every time I go to one of my friends who may have more buildings or whatever, they're just as excited to see where my progress is. And I'd say what drew me in was my friends kind of approaching it that way, and that made me say, oh, okay, maybe this is an online game I could really just kind of jump in and have fun with.
The social aspect is fundamental, especially to this entry. It hasn't always been a part of the series, but especially now, the Switch being as popular as it is, I'm sending letters and I'm talking to people I haven't talked to since high school. I am going to Animal Crossing towns of my college roommate, who I haven't talked to in 3 or 4 years. People I've never met in real life. And I think part of that is sort of that everybody's stuck at home right now, but it's kind of the perfect storm with that and the Nintendo Switch and Animal Crossing being such an approachable, as Cusack said, kind of non-competitive. It's a community-driven game in both a sense of your individual town, but everybody else is working together.
Sure. Well, I was just going to talk about the social aspect. Sorry. Thank you. No, but with the social aspect, we were talking a little bit about like how it forces you to slow down a little bit, and the social aspect of it especially really forces you to just enjoy being with the other person. Like have any of you ever played the game Club Penguin? Like the old games.
Yeah.
Everybody's played it.
Doing the dance?
Yeah, you do the dance, you just throw snowballs. It's like a super simple concept, right? Or I just remember sitting at the pizzeria and pretending that I was eating a pizza and talking to my friends. It's the same thing in Animal Crossing, and I'm 24.
I agree, especially in multiplayer. There's absolutely really nothing to do or accomplish. You kind of have to make up your own games, take pictures, have fun, but there's nothing really to do. You have to invent your own fun, which I think is something you're not presented with very often anymore.
Something that's interesting to me about the multiplayer that I just don't know a whole lot about is like, are you able to? I don't think you can do like voice chat, can you?
You can actually
you can.
through the you have to use your phone.
Oh,
weirdly
I mean,
enough,
right.
but
yeah, so
you can text and do stuff with your phone.
is that through the Nintendo app, or do you just kind of use your own? I mean, we can. Yeah, you're right. We can text
No,
the
it's
app, but we
through the
can't.
Nintendo app. You can text and you can voice chat.
Okay, I didn't know about
So-
the voice chat. That's interesting.
Something that's interesting to me then about like that, like a lot of people would see that as like a limitation, and in some ways like it is in like games like Mario Kart, for example. But like I think that's kind of like a benefit to Animal Crossing in the way, at least in like the way you guys are describing it, is like you don't have that like instantaneous like voice chat that a lot of games like the stereotypical like troll on Call of Duty might be, lurking around. That's kind of eliminated.
Yeah, it's not the kind of game where you want to log into a lobby and hear like a mom screaming at her kid or like dogs barking in the background. Like it's something where you want somebody who kind of thought ahead with what they're gonna say and do.
Well, if I could add something too,
Yeah.
the social aspect for me and just my current situation is also sort of a downfall, and the reason why is because right now we're living under a pandemic. A lot of people are staying at home. A lot of people, especially a lot of our friends, aren't necessarily still doing school, and I, have actually been fortunate enough through this pandemic to actually still work because I work in human services, and they are required to have people come into work.
Yeah.
So if they could, they probably would have us stay home, but we have people who need 24-hour supervision.
Yeah.
And I also, like you, David, I am finishing up my master's this semester as well, which also includes writing a thesis, doing my own work and such. So I've also, while felt really welcomed, I've been feeling really awful for not keeping up with everybody
You
because
don't
I'm
have to
doing
feel bad.
because I'm doing other things. And it's for me right now, it's been probably a good week since I've gotten on the game, and the only reason is because I've just been focusing on these other things. And
Yeah.
I am like dreading going back on because I'm worried one of my villagers has left or something, and that I have like a ton of stuff in the mail, and I'm just like, oh, I feel like I've abandoned this world.
It is weird
So,
how,
well-
like in that same sense, it's like you're waiting to. Oh, I don't want to clean my room. You keep pushing it back. It's in a weird way. It's like a chore, but oftentimes a pleasant chore.
Yeah, something that I'm thinking about then is like, we talked before recording about like how I played freaking Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery for who knows how long, which was really bad because like it really punishes. It's a bad game in general, but like those games where you have to play like mobile on your phone, like they're punish you for not playing, right? Like if you start a task and don't finish it within a certain amount of time, you like lose all of your experience and all that stuff. And Cusack just left for some reason. But I was wondering if you guys then like, does the game punish you for like not playing? Like, is there mechanics that not only encourage you to play every day, but like require you to play every day?
Yeah, so there's definitely rewards to playing every day, and then there are consequences for not playing every day. So, every day there is like certain things that you can get to like make money in the game, and so if you log in for 30 minutes a day, you can make a decent chunk of money. So the first 30 minutes of the game are the most productive, and then each that is daily. But then if you stop playing for a certain amount of time, like a long time, your villagers can like move out. I mean, but not in this game. I think they took that out this game, right?
I'm not sure. There's certain other things you have to keep in mind that this has been kind of a thorn in my side. Is every Saturday night, that's when KK Slider, the dog, comes to perform. If you want to see him perform and expand your catalog, you need to play the game on Saturday night. If you want to get invested in the stock market, which is an important element
That
to
is
money making in the game.
STALK.
Yes, you need to
Honey.
play the game between 9 and 11 a.m. on a Sunday. I was busy between 9 and 11 a.m. today, a Sunday, so I missed out on that aspect. I will tell you, David, though, there's a fundamental difference between what you are describing in the Animal Crossing games, and it's clear to see microtransactions and sort of gating your progression has been an element of a lot of recent mobile games. But the thing is, the gameplay loop of Animal Crossing was created a decade before any of those predatory practices were put into place. This was meant to be a game on its own. There are no microtransactions. There's no extra money involved once you purchase the game. This is how the game was meant to be. It was built around this idea and mechanics, not built around making additional money and taking advantage of people. And I think when you have it fundamentally starting from that point, you've created a better product, and even if you don't entirely know it while you're playing it, a more enjoyable product.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting because, like, if you... EA would never make something like this, right? But
No.
but if you even like if you gave it to a different development team in Nintendo, I could really easily see them like converting it to, you know, a microtransaction. And it seems like it's the kind of game that might very well easily include those kinds of things, but I think it's pretty like remarkable that they're not.
Yeah, it's actually the Splatoon team is the same team who's making Animal Crossing
Really?
now.
Oh.
And they had a really great model with Splatoon where they kind of introduced their content. And it wasn't all the content in the world you want, but every month or so, they would add a couple more things. You'd have a reason to come back. And they do that for almost, a year or 2 years. And I think that's their plan with Animal Crossing is maybe every 2 or 3 months introduce new content. And that, again, rewards patience. It rewards continual play. And I am guessing, I would be very surprised if they asked for any more money from you on that aspect. I think it's going to be free updates for at least a year.
Not only does it reward patience, but it also sort of forces your patience too. Something that we haven't talked a lot about is like the idea of time travel in the game. Because
that's an ethical debate.
Right, there's a huge divergence in the Animal Crossing community about whether time travel is something that you should do or not do in the game. So in the game there is like this the whole game is based around the system's internal clock, right? So what you can do is you can set the clock forward a day, and all of your construction projects, which usually take about 24 hours, suddenly are done in the matter of 5 minutes. And so I think that a way that Nintendo has kind of combated this problem is like said, okay, look, like we're gonna only give you things like once a month. Like every month we're gonna like give you a new little thing that you can't just skip forward and find.
Yeah, you can't skip to Christmas. Like when I was a kid playing the GameCube, when I'd skip to Christmas, get my reward, skip to Halloween, get the Halloween reward. You can't do that anymore because they haven't implemented what's going to happen on Halloween or Christmas yet.
Yeah. Is Mr. Rossetti in this one?
No, sadly.
No. He was my favorite character,
so
too.
funny.
I was very nostalgic.
He would
As a
read
kid,
on
I
ya.
thought he was the funniest thing in the world. I think we're going to see him. I think he's going to be there. Tortimer hasn't showed up yet. Classic character. Lots of classic faces haven't popped up yet. But with this new update, they brought Crazy Red back. They're expanding the museum. So I have complete faith that they're going to try and satisfy both long-term fans and people who are playing it for the first time.
Yeah. Cusack, since you're like the first timer, how does it feel like... I know you said like it's kind of hard with the time frame that you have, but how does it feel to like get involved in like that repetition?
Well, I would say, a good comparison to me of how I kind of got into this game is very similar to Harry Potter first walking into Diagon Alley, where everyone's kind of already doing their thing, and he's kind of observing, oh, wow, this is cool, this is what everyone's doing right now. Here's what I need to catch up on, and I want to. It's interesting. What I really found fun was how there were so many options of how you can progress in this game. It's not like, you have to always just pick your fruit and stuff. You can do that. However, you can also, within the entire thing,
you can do interior design. I like to send letters and presents to my friends. You can do whatever. Melissa, my girlfriend, the only thing she does in the game is design new clothes. She just makes hats and dresses and shirts. That's like the only thing she does, and she gets so much out of just that one small aspect of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the thing I've been seeing the most around online through like memes and stuff. Like I've seen the tarantula stuff and all that. I'm in this Digimon group on Facebook because of course I am, and people are like, I made this outfit, that has this character on it or makes it look like you're this Digimon. A lot of the pleasure people are taking out of it isn't even necessarily like doing the main gameplay.
I think, yeah, people are a lot more willing to spend 3 hours working on, like designing your pretend cafe or
Hey,
doing stuff
is
like
that
that.
Reed?
Like, I spent 2.5 hours one night recreating the Lizzo Juice album cover in the game, and I don't feel like that was time wasted because it's Corona time. That's something that you can't talk about this game without talking about the fact that everyone's playing it. Well, they're mostly locked indoors.
And that might be the most frustrating thing for me is that I'm one of the few people who are not. And and sometimes I'll go on a friend's thing and be like, dang, they got to. And I shouldn't say got to because I know a lot of people would rather go back to work, so I don't want to be insensitive about that. But it's one of those things too where I go online and I'm like, oh man, it looks like they had a lot of fun spending so much time building this thing. For example, I have a neighbor right now who does it a lot, and he made this entire island based on Japanese things only. And it was super cool. Like I walked outside and there was a go board in a little park. I think he had these waterfalls everywhere. It was super cool to see people go out and be creative about it. And I kind of was just, and while I probably could bring my video game to work if I'm honest, it was one of those things where I was like, dang, I want to sit at home and be creative. And now I feel like I'm falling behind, compared to everybody else.
I think that's the theme that kind of ties everything together between the free time for the creativity or just the confusion. Everything is people want or need routine. Like Eli said, he wakes up in the morning and first thing he does is grab the game. That's what I do. I wake up and it's like I gotta see what's going on in my town this morning, and it gets me going. I mean, I got furloughed and my gym closed, which are the only two places I go is work and gym, the day before Animal Crossing came out. And I work weekends and I work third shift. So my entire routine in life was uprooted in a day before Animal Crossing came out. So I was able to that's my anchor. Okay, I wake up at 9 a.m. now, which is crazy, and I play Animal Crossing for half an hour, and I see my friends. I send people mail. I check this and that, and that's kind of like, in a weird way, it adds structure. It gives you a little bit of control when I think a lot of people are feeling out of control right now,
So I'm in Korea, right? And I'm a little, I'm on the accelerated route, right? Like where the cases are going down. So I actually started playing Animal Crossing when cases were going down in Korea, so I have a little bit of a different experience. But what I can say is that when I was in the peak and I was stressing so hard, the thing that really helped me was the creative process. The ability to be in control and create something really helped me feel like I was just like human, I guess. I don't know. It kind of
I like that. No, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, and so this whole game, there's so much creativity involved that the ability to just like create something really allows you to get in touch with like a lot more of a human side that I think we all really need right now.
So I kind of have this theory where there's two kinds of enjoyment in life. There's fun, and then there's fulfillment, and there's quite a difference. And there are some people who put some over the other, and when there's that imbalance, that's where people who, maybe will, spend their time, if they're doing more fun stuff, maybe they're spending more time partying instead of doing like creative responsibilities, or vice versa. If you're a workaholic and you don't have any time to kind of just relax or do anything. And I found that Animal Crossing found a way to do both, where because you're still doing a task, you're still creating something, you know. And again, it's one of those games where even though you're kind of a villager, you kind of are playing God in this little world.
Definitely.
And that being said, you get fulfillment because not only are you creating something, but it's at the convenience where it's not taking so much time. And again, I think I teased earlier about this, but again, you're not actually chopping down a tree. You're doing click, 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 trees down. And it's like, how fun would it be if we actually could, create something?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, is like, Cusack, the way you were talking about it is that it like has a very low barrier of entry in terms of like getting used to it, and not only the gameplay but just of like completing tasks within the game and doing stuff. And like I've tried playing the Witcher series like literally I think 3 times now. I've tried to start playing them, and like it's fun, but like it still takes a long time to get used to the controls and the maps and the systems. And like some people really enjoy like having this system that they have to like adjust and adapt to and like kind of become masterful of. And I think like you were saying, like Animal Crossing is almost kind of the opposite of that, where it's like you kind of get a simplified system that isn't so simple that it's like, arcane or like just like, rudimentary. But you get the ability to like take control of the system and like be creative without having to spend like 100 hours figuring out how to actually sew, or knit something. But you're still able to create something that is like fun and meaningful to you, and you can share with other people like in the game and then also online, and be like, hey, like, isn't it cool that I like made this, made my house look like this, or include these albums in it.
There is a beautiful challenge to Animal Crossing, though, and it's not on a technical level, and it's something that we need in this time during this pandemic. But like what David said, I think why it's so popular with this age group is because we are mature enough right now, 18 to 24, that's how old I am, is 24, is we need to challenge ourselves to be creative. We need to challenge ourselves to be patient. We need to challenge ourselves to be social with people we maybe haven't talked to in a long time or should talk to more often. So it presents these challenges that are really more about you and yourself than they are the game. So it's very easy to play, but it's making you kind of go outside your comfort zone and push yourself in ways you might not. And I think that ties in with why it's popular now and why it's popular with this age group.
And there's definitely a individualistic aspect to that. The one thing that really I felt like comparing this game to was certain aspects in the beginning of the movie Fight Club, because in the beginning, I know that sounds weird, but in the beginning, our main character, his big obsession is how he's creating the interior of his house, and he constantly talks about how he keeps finding certain items that helps define him as a person. And what I think is interesting is that this is a game, and the reason why I make that comparison is because this is a game where you do put your individual personality into what you make. And I think and that's why people are so excited for those to come visit it, because it's like, hey guys, look at what my personality, creativity can create. This is what I've been able to, again, you can put a lot of goofy things, or you can replicate, certain worlds with your Animal Crossing, but when people kind of make their own little place, they're putting their personality into objects in organization, and I think that's very interesting.
They do a great job with designing the different items to reflect different aspects of personalities, because that's something I love doing, is going through the catalog and going, this reminds me of Eli. I need to send this
the yellow
to
hat.
Eli. This reminds me of this person. Because there's different... They split it up, especially in New Horizons. It's done a little bit differently how they group the items, but it's done very much of like, you could tell the type of person that would want to display this in their Animal Crossing home.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely did understand what you meant on that level of Fight Club.
I know it's a weird one, because when you first say Fight Club, you might think of, people fighting, but it was a completely off part of that whole thing.
I thought you were gonna say that everybody was just gonna like go, like the game was gonna like turn violent in a matter of weeks.
Yeah,
or
everybody
something.
starts fighting each other and destroying the town. That's the whole point.
It's actually Super
My
Smash Bros.
roommates, whenever I'm playing Animal Crossing, every time they're like, "Oh, this would be better if you had swords and guns."
Oh my
Does that make you
god.
And
mad?
I cannot, I cannot, I get so upset every time I hear that.
I was gonna say something that kind of reminds me of, and it's not exactly the same. I spent a long time when I was like, 12 or 13. I looked at the trophies from Super Smash Brothers Melee for like hours.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
I'm also
I did the same
thinking
thing.
about like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate and how it's like also very much about like this is like the material culture of like games. Like these are the icons
It's
and
legacy.
the things that people like respond to, and these are creative ways people can interpret them. Animal Crossing does that, but then expands it to include like real world objects in a way that like also remind you of other people. And I also think, and this is something we don't have to dig like super deep into, I do think it's also interesting too that like people are able to like maintain control and ownership of objects in like this digital world that maybe like itches that urge in a way that like there's kind of a big movement within like people our age range to simplify, and then also just in general to simplify,
Yes.
not have as much stuff in your house, not own as many things. And I wonder if this game kind of taps into that idea of like people like to hoard a little bit. People like to have objects that they can
Yes.
associate memories with, but it does it in a way that like doesn't necessarily destroy the planet Earth as much.
Well, I mean, if we were actually to like live like you do on Animal Crossing, then we would be destroying the earth like crazy. But, because you can store up to over 800 items in your home. It's definitely like, if if you could see your storage, it would be an episode of Hoarders. That's for sure.
So, so Animal Crossing is a very kind of basic simulator game. There's games that have more detailed and intricate interior design, music creation, designing of a town, more intricate social features, more intricate crafting. And I know that you've put a lot of time into games like Stardew Valley and Subnautica and Minecraft. Something that's hard for me to find is what is special about Animal Crossing. It's hard to think of anything other than just like the charm or the feel or the mise en scène. So like to you, what makes Animal Crossing not all those other simulator games when it really doesn't excel in any particular field?
Yeah, I totally hear that. I think what it has is like Minecraft doesn't have a social aspect, or this.
Are you kidding me? It's online.
Okay, I'm sorry, but like I'm talking about like virtual conversation. Like the NPCs aren't very like interactable, right? I guess there are NPCs in Minecraft, but like not really. But there's that like idea that you can create whatever you want, Or The Sims has a pretty social aspect to it, but not really, and it's more interior design. I think what is so beautiful about Animal Crossing is it's like, is you get Stardew Valley, you get that farming aspect, you get the interior design. It just has everything all jam-packed into one game, and somehow it manages to keep it simple, which
But what makes it not a watered-down experience when you have every aspect but not as good as other games do it? Then what are you left with?
I would argue that it does do it as well as other games, though.
Well,
I don't
something that I'm just hearing about in this conversation about all of these games that I've never played, which makes me an expert on it. But I think the beauty of this, and this is something I'm thinking about in my research about Nintendo in general, I think there's a beauty in simplicity that is really accentuated by a game like Animal Crossing, where I don't need a game to be 100% realistic. Like, I don't, like in Skyrim, right? Like, I don't want to worry about like what the weight of something is. That's not something I'm interested in. Other people
That's an aspect. That's literally an aspect of Skyrim. You
exactly.
can't
So,
run if you
but
carry.
like some people are like they like having it and like organizing it in that way. I think something like Animal Crossing and even something like, Mario with its simplistic story, or Breath of the Wild, I guess, is a little more crazy too. But I think there's a beauty in like being able to play a well-crafted experience that isn't bound by realism, isn't trying to be like the most thorough or the most deep in terms of how it's played, but it's really focusing on specific feelings and emotions and goals,
Yeah.
like in a way that other games can't. Like I'm thinking about Super Mario Odyssey, for example, and like it's not interested in like doing a lot of things that modern games like to do. It's not interested in having an open world, but like the way you play it is so satisfying.
Yeah, it's very focused with Nintendo games. The music, the colors, the graphics, they're very cohesive, and it's a very clear vision. There's nothing that's the thing about Animal Crossing, is there's nothing like it. There's no other game where the characters talk to each other. The music is absurd. No other game has a soundtrack like that. So I think maybe that's a part of it, is you can't really get that vibe anywhere outside of, really Nintendo, but even Animal Crossing is very out there in terms of dialogue and music and color palettes for Nintendo.
I was gonna say, do you think Animal Crossing is a good tool to teach children about how responsibilities can actually fulfill you instead of wear you down?
Sure, I see that.
Potentially, but I know when I was a kid, I played the game like not an intelligent, wanting to learn child. I wanted instant gratification, and I did not learn that lesson until I became an adult.
So Jeremiah's nephew is playing the game right now, and he always asks to visit my island whenever he's on. In a very, very...
He wants your fruit.
Yeah, in a very, like, demanding way. He's not like, hey, could I come visit your island? He's like, open your airport now. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I, like...
He knows you have better stuff.
Yeah, so I open up my airport, I let this 5-year-old come in, he brings out an axe, and he starts chopping down my trees. I'm like, okay, dude, you're...
I'd be upset. I'd be livid.
I shut off my Switch. I literally shut it off. I messaged him and I was like, okay, buddy, like, we have to set up some rules here. Like, you can't go and chop down my trees just because you want my fruit, dude. Like,
You can ask for my fruit nicely.
yeah, so I don't know how helpful this game
Maybe
is for him. Maybe over time it will be helpful, but as of now, it's just more like he's more of a capitalist trying to just get the maximum profit at the expense of other people.
Yeah,
so.
it's hard to learn about
Yeah.
entire economic systems that young. I do think, though, and this is something I was also thinking about in terms of how I've played games growing up, too, is, like, I learned a lot of stuff not through, like, direct teaching, but kind of through osmosis, where just kind of, like, the experience you have, like, imprints itself almost in how you approach things in the future. So, like, I remember playing Nintendo games growing up, and, like, Travis was saying, like, the soundtracks. I can, like, distinctly remember everything about the Ocarina of Time soundtrack, because, like, as a kid, that led me to being like, oh, like, music has this potential to, like, be very emotionally effective, and, like, I'm interested in that. And I couldn't tell you that as a little kid. I would just be like, oh, this is cool. But, like, looking back on it now, I've made that connection to, like, how I responded to that as a kid.
Yeah, kids learn a lot better through emotion.
That led me to, like, be doing, choir and band and all that stuff, because I wanted to do piano because I loved the music in that franchise as I was playing it. So, like, I do think there is an element of, like, understanding that you have to have an upkeep to what you do every day, and that's something that I am still not good at in terms of cleaning or, like, that kind of stuff. But, like,
me too.
But it has also the potential just to, like, flip that switch in people's brains that, like, oh, if I keep at something, right, if I keep repeating something and, like, maintaining that, then maybe it'll lead to good things in the future. And I think that's, like, a lesson that you can learn without having to have it expressly told to you.
Yeah, it's emotional. It's not logical. It's something that you kind of base off feelings, and, like, you learn based on how you feel versus to actually
Which is
process the
why,
information.
when people are talking about video games and like learning through video games and that kind of stuff, it's like other like forms of interacting with media, like reading or watching a movie or that kind of thing, because that experience and the emotional things that happen when you play it, when you watch it, when you see it, when you hear it, you know, it imprints in a way that like direct learning doesn't. Has the potential to.
And I don't know if it's changed lately, but I felt like when I was growing up, there was kind of a taboo on TV and video games where it was okay to do, but the view, at least from my parents, was that all you're going to get out of it is, you know, stupid.
Yeah, well, and there are stupid people
and,
who, you know, only play games that like. Yeah, I should say stupid people.
Well,
that's a great example. I mean, when you think about it, like that game offers nothing that so many other games have. For some reason, the most unfun version of a battle royale is the most famous. Anyway,
there's a quote by Shigeru Miyamoto that is, people say video games will rot your brain. That's what they said about rock and roll.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
The current pop culture is always going to have something that's saying this is bad, but under like a further reflective lens of, you know, decades or even just years, you can see, oh, this is just another way to tell stories or make people feel or share your creativity. It's not any different than writing or music or painting, really.
You can't tell me after playing Ori and the Will-o'-the-Wisps that you didn't get some sort of emotional or lesson learning or at least appreciation of artwork. You know,
it's a beautiful game.
It is, absolutely. And ironically, David, I kind of really, because for a while I believed it too. You know, I believed, oh, I'm just going to be playing some fun stuff. And funny enough, I think that all changed when I started playing Zelda. Ooh. I think, and this may not be the best example, but I mean, it was just the first one I played. The first one I played was Twilight Princess, and I was just like, oh, wow. Okay, let's do this again. And then I did Ocarina of Time and said, holy buckets, let's do this again, you know. And then I found Undertale, and my life is now complete.
I do.
That's me too. I'm there too.
And that kind of, it's got me thinking that too. This is something we talk about. Is something we've kind of all like danced around throughout this whole conversation. Is the emotional appeal of this kind of thing is like the single experience, like the person playing it themselves is getting a lot out of it, but it's becoming so much more meaningful by sharing it with so many other people and communicating, building relationships with other people.
That's art.
And that building of understanding of what it is with other people is something that I think it sounds like from like an outsider's perspective is so meaningful in a way that we were talking about like Stardew Valley before or Minecraft. You can do those same things, but like it's almost kind of like the ethos of like that sharing and creating content that other people can enjoy and not destroy, like the kind of Minecraft, right? Like,
yeah.
When the more people that are playing the game, you know, I share something with Eli. Eli understands how much work went into that because he's played the game. It's a better perspective of like, because I just show that to my mom, she's gonna go, okay, yeah, great, Travis.
Yeah.
But somebody who's played the game gets that this took a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, this game has a sense of ownership that I feel like other games don't have. Like, you know, you start from the literal bottom. You get a tent, you put it on a deserted island that's filled with weeds and random trees, and then like over a series of weeks of work, you actually start to build something that you're proud of. And that itself is like, you can say that's yours. That's not necessarily like Nintendo's or the creators of the game. It's like, this is my island. It's not like, I don't think you can say the same thing about Fortnite. You can't say like this, you know, like this map is mine, you know, or like something that I created. There's no sense of like, ownership.
It's just so interesting as like someone who doesn't play it but gets so much out of it at the same time. It's interesting. Anyway,
you have to with our group chat.
I know. I'm like, wait, and it'll never be on sale in its entire existence ever. So I like should just I should just cave.
Never.
No, that's Nintendo. That's,
But so like,
what are you gonna do?
in closing, then for our discussion, what's like one awesome experience you've had, like connecting with someone,
Oh man.
or anything that's like stuck out to you? That's just like this is like an exemplary, like, little anecdote about why people should play this game. Yeah.
I got one.
Okay.
Never in my life have I laughed and enjoyed something so much until Travis sent me in the mail a yellow Eli hat.
And for
I mean, because here's the thing. He put a reference from our real life into something, and I don't even think the card had any words. I think it just said hat or something. I put it on.
But you knew.
I knew exactly what it was.
for listeners, Eli has always, I shouldn't say always, he threw it away a couple years ago. Oh, he still has
Oh
it.
no, I
Just
still
kidding.
have it. I can
No,
post
he's
it up.
got
He's worn the same
somewhere.
mustard yellow
He's
hat
gotta have
since
it
high
somewhere.
school.
It was white when you bought it.
It matches his shirt. There it is.
So
That thing was.
Aw.
Yeah,
Still
yeah,
got
he's
it.
wearing it now. That thing has been around for years, and but the point of why I had so much fun with that, not only was it referencing something we all cherish, but it was like we found a way to have a game to where we can. It has little references, little simple things that we can create to make each other laugh, and that's where the community aspect works. I mean, Travis could have just sent me a picture of him wearing a hat, and that same hat in some game, but he sent it to me through the mail, and that connection between me and him. Now Eli's involved in that connection too, even though he didn't. I mean, I'm sure he got a hat somewhere in the game, but I mean, that little play on fun only works because of the game and because of the relationship
Yeah.
with the people. And I think that's where I really enjoy the game, because you can find ways to. It's a way that kind of supports a foundation of friends. But I feel like the game doesn't work if you haven't met people before. Or I mean, you could always meet people too, but in my experience, it wouldn't have worked for me if I didn't have a plethora of people who are in it and have that fun
yeah.
already.
On the same vein, like, so I love. Hold on. There's a truck right here. Just gonna let it pass.
It's a podcast. It's not going to be edited.
Okay.
I heard.
Yeah, we're going full
Anyway,
ratty. So it's okay.
We're going full ratty. Oh, okay. Well, I hope you heard that truck then. So what I was gonna say was I love playing the game with you guys, but I also love playing the game with people that I like haven't really kept in touch with for a while. Like Travis was saying, like I had a couple college friends come to my island and they like came to my cafe and we like drank pretend coffee and we like caught up.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so fun. And it was like, man, like I really miss you, and I miss like our friendship, and I feel like that wouldn't have come to surface if there weren't this culture that was like bringing people together, you know. That's all.
I take a lot of pictures. I take pictures almost every day, and I've been absolutely obsessed with making photo albums throughout this quarantine. Just finally putting them to paper and printing out. It's been a lot of fun. And they added a kind of a photo capture. Again, it's very rudimentary, but you can take little pictures of everything that happens in Animal Crossing and put little filters over it. And I find myself, because I think Animal Crossing, there's nothing big and crazy that happens. It's about small, little, cute moments. It's about meeting your friends for pretend coffee. It's about seeing a character stop into your town that you haven't seen before, and just little things, and you capture a little snapshot. And I've been extremely tempted to port all the pictures off my Switch and make a legitimate real life photo album
Do it.
from my Animal Crossing screen captures. I got pictures with all my friends just like in real life, and I don't know, I think that's such a cute thing that I am enjoying the moments and my times with the people in this game so much that I want to actually print the photographs I've taken.
That's so awesome. Yeah, it's so cool hearing you guys talking about this. It's just like, I'm not saying this for the podcast. I'm probably going to buy it now, just from like hearing everybody talking about it so much. It's just cool.
You'll be starting where I am, David, so you and I can kind of catch up as we finish off our school.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's
Also because
be
like
easier when
I
that's
probably
done.
won't have a job this summer, so this will be another thing for me to do.
Yeah, me neither. I got hired and then I got unhired. That's what happened to
Yeah.
me, man. It's
But
crazy.
it's great. It's so cool.
You can't get fired in Animal Crossing.
No, or canceled.
Right?
It's true.
All right, I wanna say thank you guys for doing this. This was so fun, and this is another fun, rudimentary way to get involved with your friendos and talk through a bunch of not so stellar mics and just connect. And it's been really meaningful. So thank you. It's been awesome.
For sure.
Alrighty.
All right.
Welcome.
So this is the end of the first episode of our Game Detectives podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Probably like the 10 people who actually listen to this to the end. So thank you. And do something nice for somebody else. I think is like a good lesson for Animal Crossing too. Is like if just send somebody something cool. And
You should end every episode with
Send them a yellow hat.
a lesson from the game, something you can take away from the game that you're talking about and apply to real life.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Travis, I'm stealing that from you.
I gave it to you.
You gave it to me. Oh, thank you. That's your gift. Yeah, give a gift. Whatever that means to you or to the person who's receiving it. And honestly, like, it seems like the best gifts are free, honestly.
Or $60.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Game Detectives podcast. Oh, and don't forget. Byes!
Thank you so much for playing my game.